Hello, guys. I am Dusty Neal, and this is Deep Think. We are back again to entertain as usual. So, this week's subject that we're going to be discussing today on the show is survival, and that's any type of survival. I'm talking survival out in the woods, zombie attacks, survival of the fittest, social media survival, dating survival, anything that has to do with survival, we're going to try to cover all those topics today. So, the first topic I guess we can talk about, let's say you're out in the woods, okay? You're going camping.
You have to look out for bears.
Yes, yeah, look out for bears. Yes. Let's say you're on a normal camping trip. You get out there, you build your fire, you got all your food set up, you got your tent set up, and it becomes nighttime. And think of you're out in the middle of the forest, 100 miles from anything. So we'll start from there. Suddenly, a bear comes into your camp. During the night, you hear it. Yes, destroys your car. Destroys your car. You
Smelled
have
some hot dogs in there.
Yes, you have no radio.
You didn't put them up in a tree. You foolish person.
Yes, yeah. You didn't get a bear box. You didn't put the food in the box and tie your food up or tie it in the tree like you're supposed to. So the bear attacks, tears up everything. You sneak away because you could tell the bear is sniffing around through everything. So you sneak away and you get into the woods. You come back a few hours later, the bear is gone, but your stuff is completely demolished. And all you have is one knife. You have no car to drive. You have no food. So what do you do?
Buried it all.
What do you do? You're 100 miles away from everything. And even the road that you traveled was a Jeep trail. That's 50 miles down the Jeep trail. So what do you do? Do you start walking 50 miles down the Jeep trail when it's already a secluded area, when there's no one even out there? You're out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the safest action?
Well, I think that it's important to take into consideration your hierarchy of needs. So first and foremost, you have to take into consideration shelter.
Yes.
Shelter is your first primary concern. You can freeze to death very quickly, much more quickly than you can starve or, die of thirst. So you have to make sure that there's no storms coming. You are warm enough. All your stuff is dry, and you are able to have some sort of protection from the elements.
Well, you got a knife.
Yep.
So I guess you're going to Rambo this stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on how far you are out. 50 miles is not too difficult of a drive or walk.
Let's just change it to 100 miles.
100 miles.
Let's make it so.
And you don't know which way you're supposed to go.
Yeah. And you went down these roads forever, turning right, turning left, and then you went onto a Jeep trail for 50 more miles, turning right and going up the side of the cliff and getting around. And I mean, so you're stuck out in the middle of nowhere. You don't have any water. You don't have, your water's all been eaten up by the bear because you know how bears love to eat beer and Coke cans and water. And I mean, I've had a time, there was a time that my father, yeah, you can turn that down. Actually, my father, he had a bear attack his. You're hilarious.
There we go.
Bear. He had a bear attack his car in the middle of the night. What happened is he. Let me turn this down a little bit. So the bear came in. My dad had left candy in the middle of his console, and the bear actually broke the window, ripped the door halfway off the hinges. I mean,
I've seen videos of that stuff.
that
The bear's
is
just
crazy.
Pushing on the edge of the car.
Oh my
just
God.
goes in the once they get in, they don't know how to get out, so they just
Yeah.
rip everything to shreds.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I've tried to pull on a car door. I don't think I could pull that car door off.
No,
I
bears are
mean,
strong.
ripping those, yeah. Well, I mean, golly, obviously. So he got in. He ripped up all the interior. He ripped off the dashboard. I mean, there was nothing left of the truck. It was just demolished. So, anyways, go back to the story. You're 100 miles out, middle of nowhere. You got a knife. So,
Mhm.
first thing you got to do is shelter.
Right.
So, how do you build a shelter? Well, there's a thing called. Well, let's ask Deep Think.
Yep.
How do you build a shelter,
Well,
Deep Think? And then I'll give my knowledge.
I don't know much about that, but I can take a stab at it.
Okay.
Get it?
Stab.
You have a knife.
Yes.
So, basically, leaning some sticks up against a tree and then putting some foliage over that can give you some immediate shelter
Mhm.
quickly. It's probably not going to survive like if there's high winds or something like that, but I mean, if it's just raining out, you want to stay dry, of course.
Yes.
So just having something to keep the rain off you. If you just stand under a tree, that will work for a little bit, but eventually the tree gets saturated with water
And also
and
remember,
it starts raining on you anyways.
time is the essence. So how much time you spend on building that lean-to is what it's called.
Hmm.
You're slowly but surely running out of water in your body, and you're running out of food in your stomach.
Right.
So you got to build that lean-to as fast as possible. Start making I guess a decision on which path you're going to go down.
Right.
But you got to be careful because you
And
can get lost in the woods really easy.
and it's important to take into consideration what you have left of what the bear left you. Like
Yes.
it probably didn't eat the tent. You probably have a shredded tent, right? So you could
How
probably
could
use
you make a trap with a tent?
patches of that over
Oh
the
yeah,
over the
you can wrap it
lean-to.
around the.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
But spend some time on it, but don't spend too much time. Second, you got to find a source of water. So that's because your body needs water. If you don't drink water within 3 days, you are done for.
Right.
So food you can last longer because I've seen people fast for a week.
All right. But you don't
And
want to last too long because then you just don't start thinking right.
exactly, your mind starts going. So you built your lean-to, you've got your knife, you go search for water. If you cannot find water, I would make sure that you have the whole day ahead of you. You go to sleep in your lean-to, fall asleep, wake up the next day, get what you can, and start trucking it down the trail that you think was the trail that you came up with your car and everything.
Hmm.
So it's not smart to go into the woods because you can walk in circles. Because as we know, with the human body, one leg is shorter than the other. So what do you do?
I don't think that's why you walk in circles.
Yeah, it is actually. So when one leg is shorter than the other, you actually pitch. This is the truth. You can look it up, Deep Think, if you want.
I
So
mean, the
you
type
actually
of like
start walking.
circling that's
Yes.
gonna cause you to do would be a very, very wide
Can
circle.
I show you, Deep Think?
All right.
Okay, let me show you real fast. I'm gonna pull out my little phone here, and hang on. There we go. What is the main reason why you start walking? Let me do that again. Working. All right. So,
Why do you work in circles, Dusty?
what is the main reason why you walk in circles when you're lost in the forest? When you're lost in the forest. Some theories explain why you tend to walk in circles when you do not have access to reliable source, according to Pat. Let's see. Camping in the wilderness, we are all lopsided. See that? Lopsided, caused by different leg links.
Oh wow.
So I just taught him something. It
Huh.
says it right there. Oh, you
I would
can't
never
really
have
see
thought
it.
that.
So I learned this in survival because my dad taught me this and my brother in the Scouts.
But I mean, like, the thing is that if you're playing a video game, you also tend to walk in a circle.
Well,
And your
because
video game character doesn't have
because your
different size
mind
legs
starts
of legs. Yeah, right?
following the sun
Yeah.
directions, and you think you're walking straight, but you're also following the sun as it goes 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and so the sun's moving across, so you change your direction. So the good
Well,
thing is to get a sense of direction.
yeah.
Don't depend on your leg, and try to mark your trail where you're coming from, because that will help you stay forward. Now, if you move fast enough with the sun, you can walk, because as the sun is basically it rises in the east and sets in the west. So
Yep.
remember that. So as the sun is highest in the sky, it's probably between 12:45, 1 o'clock, something like that.
Yep.
And as it gets lower in the sky, you can tell that the sun is more, I guess, more southwest to you. So as the sun gets to if you follow the sun, it'll actually show your direction.
hmm
So if it's
And
as
it also
lowest and you
depends on
know it's
what
morning as it's rising, that's the east.
it also depends on what season it is.
Yes.
The sun will be lower on the horizon during the winter months.
Yes. If you take that all in consideration, you will eventually find your way home. Hang on one second. I have my phone too close to my mic there. That's why you hear those. So yeah. So the second thing is once you've started down your path, make sure you do not exhaust yourself, because that's another thing. You can deplete yourself of water really fast by sweating, and also you will start to lose energy. So you want to make sure that you take your time walking. You don't walk fast, you don't run, and you don't panic, because the more you sweat, the more you waste out of your body. So you want to take your time very
Yeah.
slowly and follow.
Walking
the
is
path.
actually an incredibly efficient method of movement.
There is one thing you should always take camping. It's a book of things you can eat in the woods. Always have that on
Yeah.
you, because the bear's not going to sit there and go, well, let's just tear up that. Be like, hey, boo boo, why don't we go tear up some things today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is that? Is that Rocky and Bullwinkle? No, that is
That's
Boo Boo. That's Yogi the Bear.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not
I
like
want
Yogi
a
the
picnic baskets.
We're gonna go after some picnic baskets today.
We're giving away how old we are.
They still have Yogi the Bear, don't they? I
Well,
don't know.
maybe. I don't know.
Who knows?
We're talking about the original Yogi the Bear.
The original Yogi the Bear. So, anyways, all right. So let's get off that. Pull this back over here. So you get all the way down, and if you can, before you go camping whatsoever, make sure you know where your rangers' towers are at, because they also have emergency phone calls at your ranger towers. Make sure you mark your locations, and make sure before you leave, you always tell someone where you're going. That is the second most important thing. Well, that's first most important
Yeah,
thing.
very, very important.
So if you have all those, if you cross your T's and dot your I's perfectly, you will have no problems, because sometimes if you're gone more than just 3 days, people will start come searching for you. So that's another thing for safety.
Yep. If you have told people where you are, it is generally a good idea to
Make a map and draw a circle on the map. I'm right in that area. No, I'm kidding.
to stay where you are,
Well,
because
yeah.
that's where they will come to look
But
for
when
you.
you're 50 to 100 miles out in the woods,
Right.
yeah,
If,
they
if
don't know what
nobody
deep
knows where you
trails-
are,
Yeah.
then it's up to you.
And try to keep my brother always had a satellite phone on him. Try to keep something that you can communicate on with you, and also keep some bear spray.
Well,
Keep some bear spray on you. Maybe that'll help your
Right.
journey a little bit more too.
oh, and it also depends on the type of bear you're facing. If you're facing
Now,
a
if you're
black bear, you can scare them away. Just act big,
yeah,
right? If it's a brown bear, you're pretty screwed.
if it's a grizzly bear, you're toast.
Yeah, yeah.
Those claws are like this wide.
If it's a polar bear, say your prayers. They will just eat you.
It doesn't always. If you ever seen the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, what is it called? Where he gets ripped up by a bear. What was that?
Revenant.
Revenant.
Yeah.
It could happen like that, and you could drag your butt across. I mean, he crawled. It says in the story that he crawled over 100 miles to get back. That
How
is
did
just.
he not bleed to death?
I know. I mean, the guy is tough as nails. I mean, he had been through. What was his name? God,
I don't know.
I always forget. So, yeah, sometimes you'll be lucky like that, but 90% of the time you're not going to be so lucky.
Right.
So, make sure when you're out. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you're traveling, it is important to
Your
be able to
bear thing is cracking me up.
figure out which direction and be able to keep that direction. The sun is an excellent way to do that.
Mhm.
Sometimes, if the moon is up during the night, you can also use the moon
Yeah.
to just determine your direction.
So, what direction does the moon come up and down?
Same as the sun. That's why you get eclipses,
Yes.
right? So you want you'll want to follow the moon or the sun, and if neither are up
Yes.
and it's night, then you can follow the stars if you know your constellations.
Yes, exactly. All right.
Do it like the old navigators on ships,
Oh yeah.
right?
Be like
Get out your
Christopher-
sextant.
Christopher Columbus.
Right.
Arr! I wonder if Christopher Columbus sounded like that. Arr! Arr, we going to the north, I see.
Christopher Pirate Columbus.
Christopher Pirate Columbus. Oh, we don't know. He could have been like, so we were going to the north this year
Right.
and follow my lead. Very well-educated man.
Yes.
I'm going
Arr.
to draw a map for future Americans. I mean, wasn't even America yet, so future people.
Right. It's like we don't even know what he sounded like back then, I don't think. Basically, the English language has changed a tremendous amount since those times.
So what
We
did
could-
the English language sound like back then?
We could barely even understand what they were saying nowadays.
Thou something, thou shrivet my tie of
Right.
greatness to my chest of hair, or something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking of. I mean, how did they talk back then? Let's see.
I don't know.
Give
We'd
us
have to
some-
look it up.
I mean,
but
did they talk like Pig Latin or something? No, I'm kidding,
yeah,
Pig
like
Latin.
the words themselves were so different that they aren't even really comprehensible
Really?
to what we're currently speaking.
Was it kind of like what is it?
And also the sentence structure was vastly different as well.
What's Hamlet? Was it like Hamlet?
Yeah, but like even weirder.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thou shall be on my something. I don't
right.
know. I don't even know.
There's
Thou
words
shalt.
that we don't even know that they were
Yeah.
using back then.
Oh, okay. Well, so we're going to have some subjects also coming up, but we have a guest coming on. His name is Freak Red. He's going to talk about some Project 5. He has a YouTube show. Look him up, Freak Red Project 5 on YouTube.
Hello?
Hello, Freak Red.
Stevie?
Hello there.
How you doing?
What's up? Doing fine.
Yes, this is Dusty Neal and Deep Think. So
hey, how you doing, man?
doing good,
Glad
doing
to be
good.
on.
Doing pretty well.
Nice. So we have been already discussing. We are disgusting. We are discussing about survival in all different aspects, and I know you wanted to talk about a few subjects about survival. We were actually talking about camping in the woods, and say you got a knife and basically you're 100 miles out, and a bear and you're up on you're not on a regular road. You're on a Jeep trail that went all across the land in different directions, so you don't know which way you went. And a bear tore off the door, tore off the ignition. Your car is completely dead, and your tent's tore up, and your food's all gone, and your water's
This bear's
depleted.
a mechanic and
The bear's a
The
mechanic.
the bear got in your car.
just tore out your ignition. He's
Oh.
like, yo, dude, your car's not starting because of this. By the way, I'm about to maul you. Ah!
Well,
You were actually roasting hot dogs on your engine. So the bear got in there.
I was telling a story about my father having a bear attack his truck and ripping off his dash and ripping out his seats where his truck was not working anymore. So that's where we were going with that. But we were basically talking about what would you do for survival techniques in the woods when all you've got is a knife and scattered remains of your campsite and a broken down truck 100 miles out on a Jeep trail. What would you do? Freak Red?
Most people in that situation are in a lot of trouble because it takes a lot of knowledge and experience to be able to execute the skills in that situation to survive. So for a guy like me, right? Like I'm like $150 best soaking wet, right?
Yeah.
I can't really carry a whole lot on my back. Like I don't have that luxury, like that big man luxury. Big man
mean
life
like
is a good life, I hear.
You mean like Grizzly Adams?
Was he small or was he big?
Oh, he was kind of a muscle guy. I mean, I remember what was it?
Yeah,
Robert Redford played Grizzly Adams, or no?
I mean,
Who played Grizzly
he
Adams?
could carry more than I could, you know, and he has that luxury, but at the same time, it's not substantially a lot more. But at the same time, so guys like me, we can't afford the luxury of carrying as much gear as a bigger dude, right?
Well,
So
what
we
would
have
you
to
do as
be-
a small dude or a skinny dude, as you say?
Well, I got a car, right?
Well, yeah.
I got a car, and
car's-
I'm assuming this is
it's-
nightfall or what time of day is it?
You don't have a
I'm
car
assuming I got
anymore.
there that
Your
day.
car dash has been ripped off. There's no wiring. You don't know how to rewire a harness. Your dash has been ripped off because you had candy sitting on your
Dashboard.
dashboard, and the bear ripped it all off. So you have no way. Your car is completely out of commission.
Okay.
So you're out
How
in the woods.
far do we know? How
100
far? How
miles.
far from the last town?
100 miles.
100 miles.
Yeah, but you're halfway on a Jeep trail, which is 50 miles on a
And-
Jeep trail out in the middle of the woods.
And you don't recall which direction it
And
was.
you do not recall which direction is what because you were just gonna, I guess, just camp and then try to find your way
Well,
back
I
because you wanted to
might-
be adventurous.
I might try to do if I could manage it, I might try to pull out the coolant reservoir, dump it out, clean it off. If there's a nearby stream, like where are we at? Are we at like it's such situational? Are we in the mountains or are we in a desert?
We're in the mountains, Jeep
forested
trail,
area.
mountains, forestry area.
Forest trail. I'd probably take the reservoir. I'd take my knife. I'd take as much as I could off the car, and I'll think about it as I go. Probably a side mirror, something reflective.
Oh, that's
so I
right. You can
could,
start
you
a
know-
fire with a
Yeah.
mirror from the sun.
Those are all
Yeah.
excellent ideas.
Yeah.
I would start looking over at the vehicle as much as I could. I'd probably try to maybe get some gasoline out of the vehicle, siphon some of it out if I could, and try to collect it if I had some kind of container that I either had in the vehicle or if I
Yeah,
could rip
that's
something
right.
off of it.
You'd
I
have
would-
less of a because
and-
all you have to do is make a spark with that gasoline, a little spark, and you don't have to really just one little spark.
I
You
might
got a fire.
I might even try, since I have a knife, I might even try taking off the tires if I have my whole like tire kit.
You mean cut
And
the
take
tires
off-
with your knife? Cut the tire?
Yeah,
Oh.
and maybe get some material or something like that with the tires. Or I'd be thinking about
Maybe-
something I could do with that. Maybe using the tubing inside to hold water or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
You
maybe,
know?
well, car tires don't have tubing.
yeah, well, some there are car tires that do
With
have
some-
tubing in them, but not all of
Very
them. do.
rarely do
Yeah.
car tires have tubing in
They're,
them.
Yeah.
they're more old school. The ones
Also,
that
it'd be
had-
very difficult to cut tires with a knife because they have
Not
a
really.
they have a mesh actually, a metal mesh throughout them.
Oh, you mean steel belted?
Yeah,
Not on the
Yeah,
sides,
you
right?
can-
Or
They
just-
do.
They do.
yeah.
Well, you
You
know,
can still cut them.
yeah, you could use that.
If you have
but,
a sharp enough knife, yeah, you can still cut them.
but yeah, using your knife with the gasoline, you could have a little cup of gasoline you bring with you just to kind of put just a little bit,
Yeah.
and you start your fire
Yeah,
up.
I
That's a
definitely
great idea.
That would make starting
just,
fires very
just
easy.
maybe I don't know. I would, you know, if it calls for it, it depends how much I'd cannibalize my own car for, you know, weird tools and shit stuff I could make
Oh,
off of that.
yeah,
And
weird tools and stuff. You
so-
mean?
yeah. So there's if we're in the mountains, I would start trekking kind of down. If I would listen, I would try to hear, like, if I could hear any water moving, and I would try to see if I can't, like, go down where, you know, like where water would run,
Yeah.
and follow that until I can't find some water or something, you know, and try to get myself as prepared as possible for. Well, and here's another question: do people know you're, like? That's another thing.
Well,
Do
yeah,
people
we
know
were-
that you're
we were
out in this
talking-
area?
We were actually talking about
Like, how
that.
much preparedness have you done too? So if you're talking about, like, people know
So
that
what
you're
would you?
supposed to be standing there.
Yeah, what would you suggest that people do to prepare? We've already said it's something like that, but tell us what you would do to prepare to make sure people knew that you were out there, and what would you do while you were out
I mean, I would give them a map. I'd say this is the general area I'm going to be, and this is the time frame, and you would get a call back. And if you don't get a call, you know, within this certain time frame, then deploy a rescue mission or something, you know. And
Yeah,
then
that's a
if that
good
was the
idea.
case, if I had the plans already set before I went out there, then I would just stay around my car. I wouldn't really go anywhere. I would just kind of hang out until my people come. But if it was a situation where I had 100 miles to go, I would make sure I just had the water to make the trek, you know?
Yeah,
hmm
true that, because people will come searching for you after a certain amount of time if you've properly prepared your situation with telling other people.
Right.
So what do you do?
I would get
What do you do if you haven't told anybody, and you decide, oh, I watched some Rambo movie. I'm gonna go out in the woods and go do survival, kind of like the guy with the magic bus that didn't have much. I mean, he did his education on roots and what you can eat, just a little bit, but where's he at now? Yeah, he did not judge the river that was in front of him. Remember, he couldn't get back, and then he ended up starving, and
Right.
then eating berries that were bad for him, which made him cramp up and even starve even more, where he could not eat or something like that, and then he ended up passing away.
I wonder if you.
I think he was peeing away all the nutrition, or, like, I think he had, like, diarrhea. He couldn't absorb any of the food he ate.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can distill
Diarrhea,
the water
I'm
out
kidding.
of your coolant.
Distill the water out of your
That's
coolant.
I think that's a
you?
petroleum base. I think that's
Yeah.
a petroleum
No,
base.
no. Coolant is basically just you basically it's 50% water, 50% like coolant, and the coolant is basically just there in order to
Oh yeah.
keep it from freezing, right? When it's super cold. You could just
Well,
put straight water.
It's carrying
if you
the heat away from the engine, right?
yeah, if you had a car that was in a place that never froze, you could just put water in there
Yeah.
and it would work just the same.
Well, make sure when you're going camping, take all the
Well-
coolant out of your radiator and put water in there, just
You
in
don't wanna
case
do that.
You
You
no
wanna
bear
melt
is going
everything
to
out in there.
attack.
You will corrode everything in there.
All
That would be
right.
bad news.
Let's put a twist on this now. Let's put a twist on this. Say you're out camping and this guy walks up, right? This guy walks up
Yeah.
and you've got a satellite radio on you. This guy walks up and he's like, brains. And then you find out on the radio it's a zombie apocalypse.
Like
Zombies
right
have
in that
attacked,
moment.
a disease has taken over, and now you're out there in the woods, no bear this time, and you've got a zombie
Right.
apocalypse
The,
happening.
the guy comes up and goes, "Rawr," and you're like,
feeling
wait a second. Wait a second. I'm listening to my radio. Shh, shh, shh. Quiet.
I would be shook at first. I'd be like really shook at first, but at the same time, I'd be feeling pretty blessed. I'm away from a densely urban populated area. You know what I'm saying? Like some
Yeah.
densely populated area. I'd be like, thank Christ, I am not around a bunch of people right now. This kind of sucks because I'm ill prepared because I wasn't expecting a zombie apocalypse on a Tuesday. But
So what would you do
you
to the
know.
zombie? I mean, we already
what would
watched
I
plenty
do?
of movies that you shoot the zombie's head off or
If-
whatever it is.
if this is a real zombie, like I'm
Oh,
assuming
yeah.
like real case scenario, not like because
That
like
no one
I
has
don't
ever been
think-
in that situation before in your life, so you don't know if chopping the head off. I mean, I guess it'll take his mouth away from biting you, but the
Dusty-
body could still
Dusty.
move. Oh wow!
I'm
You-
assuming
yeah.
I'm assuming we're in the situation where these are like realistic zombies, where they don't have like enhanced superpower like what
Yeah.
Resident Evil or whatever. You know.
They're walking
I-
zombies, not running zombies.
So if I would assume if this is a fresh scenario, I wouldn't really be able to tell that this guy is a zombie because he's not really decomposing yet.
Oh yeah, say who is just a little blue in the face. Oh my god!
Yeah. He's probably
Oh, wow.
blue,
That's so
cold
funny.
to the touch.
It's so funny, Freak Red. Yeah, at this time you can't see him because you're on the phone, but Deep Think has a zombie face on his mask right now. It was unexpected because I wasn't even looking at the screen. Then I looked over and I was like, "Oh, there's a zombie!"
Brains?
It's really hilarious.
Brains.
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 But ultimately, man, to answer your question, man, if I had to like hoof it 100 miles, I would get myself situated, right? Where I would get myself water first, right? And
Yeah.
depending on what time of the day it is, what are we talking about? Is it nighttime or is it daytime?
It's all time. It's daytime and
Let's
Okay.
say,
nighttime.
let's say you
Oh, when-
have
when
a
did it
few
start
hours
out?
of daylight left.
Okay, say you've got about 4 hours of daylight left, right? Is that what you said?
I would immediately start getting ready to just get some sleep for the night, and then I would get
That's
up
the
in the
most
morning.
important thing. And hopefully, what do you do with the guy that walked into your camp?
The guy who walks into he's dead.
Oh, he's dead. What did you do to kill him?
Oh, dude, I found a rock and I just bashed his brains in. You know, I'm assuming, you know, it's a zombie. Some parasite probably doesn't have the greatest motor function control over the body. So I figure I have enough time to like, kind of like assess the situation, look around for a rock and grab one and fuck him. You know?
What if it was like the old Creep Show movie where, remember that one where what was it called? A Hitchhiker, where the I think it was called Hitchhiker, where the lady hits the guy in the rain and then goes over to see if he's okay. And he's like, and then she saves him and he's like, "Thanks for the ride, lady." And then ends up smashing him again and figures out he's not dying. "Thanks for the ride, lady." So he's like, you know, after you bashed him in the head with a rock, you're asleep in your tent and he comes along and goes, "Freak Red! Ah!" Thanks for
I
bashing
feel
me in
like
the head,
an
Freak Red.
intellectual- I feel like a zombie that like is self-aware enough. I'd be like, "Yo, wait a second, but why
Self-aware,
the brains?"
Why the
You know, like, I'll be,
Because they're tasty.
before you wait, I'll just like stop. I'll be like, before you attack, he's like, "Ugh." I'll be like, "Yeah, hold up.
You can speak?
You can talk." Well, yeah.
Yeah, but I want brains. I don't have a mouth anymore because you bashed my mouth out. I'm going to eat you with my nose. Joking. All right, so let's move forward. Show. Survival. What is another kind of survival that we all go through on a day-to-day basis that is that doesn't have to do with camping, Doesn't have to do with zombie apocalypses. What's the survival thing that we all deal with in our day to
I
day
think we
life?
just survive day to day. I think that's just what we do, surviving day to day. Because like, let's be real, this whole situation we're in right now is baloney.
It
And I
is.
think y'all.
You know what I learned that I had to when I was a little kid, and I learned that I had to eat 3 times a day or 2 times a day. It was funny because you really don't notice how much you eat until you leave from mom's house. Then you go, wait, why am I hungry all the time? Oh, I've got to eat. Did you guys get that same experience with food? Like, did it hit you in the
Right.
face that you have to eat and you have to survive? And
I think
it
that
just,
was common for you guys to like, but I think there's a lot of people growing up in this generation where you have like latchkey children where they have to grow up fending for themselves. So it's kind of a mixed bag, I bet, in that answer.
well,
I mean,
I
there
don't
is a
know.
big difference when you're growing up and you get out on your own and you're suddenly like, wait, like, if you don't eat out all the time, you're like, I'm spending 25% of my waking hours preparing food for
Yeah,
myself.
that's the part I could. I was like, oh man, we gotta eat all the time. Oh wait, I gotta drink water all the time. It's weird when you find. I think I noticed it at probably 14 years old. I don't know why. I just never paid attention. I just ate food and never thought about it. And then as I grew, as I was like growing into an adult, I became more knowledgeable that oh wait, I've got to feed myself all the time.
Yep. Yeah, we taken a tremendous amount for granted,
Yes.
especially in our own society.
Yep.
We take it for granted that the grocery stores will have food on the shelves.
Yeah. Other than like other countries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We take for granted that
Have
we
you
live in a pretty most places we live in a pretty safe area where we don't have to constantly worry about like break-ins and stuff like that.
What's your question?
have you seen a communist grocery store? Have you seen what that looks like?
Uh-uh.
A communistic grocery store? Like from a like
I guess.
I have seen pictures.
Really?
Yep.
What is it like?
The shelves are bare. They're just like
their
a few
shelves are very
products
bare.
on a lot of shelves that don't have a lot of stuff on them.
And if they have something, it's a lot of the one thing that they do happen to have
So,
by that one brand.
huh? I wonder why it's like that. I mean, are
And
they?
they're
Because it's government controlled. It's government controlled. Look
Yeah.
at how government
And where is
dealing
this?
with New York right now.
Where's this at?
I mean, I think were old Soviet pictures that I was looking at.
yeah.
Was it during the Cold War or anything?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I do not know.
You don't
I
know?
just know they were black
that
and
what
white pictures. They were just
I
Yeah.
remember back in the days when they first put the first McDonald's in out there in the USSR when it was USSR, not Russia. I remember there was a line all the way down the street to go into this one McDonald's, or there was a line going all the way down the street to just get bread.
Right.
Yeah, and why was that like that?
Well, it's something new. I mean, when you live in a communist society, you like have the government funded businesses, which are few.
Hmm.
And so like you have like maybe one or two brands of bread. Right? Instead of like
Oh,
the
so-
vast array of brands that we
government-
have.
Oh, so
the
basically
government
you're depending.
dictates gross product, bro. The government dictates domestic gross products. They're like
I
whatever.
see.
They're like, okay, we need more shoes. The government says, all right, this factory makes more shoes, and you're a factory worker. You're a factory worker. You're a factory worker.
So that does limit the amount of stuff that's produced.
Yes, it does.
So,
Yeah.
And the
man,
variety of
It
stuff
dep-
that is produced.
It's a
Wow.
closed environment where no room for innovation and creativity of the individual proprietor.
hmm Well, sheesh. I feel sorry. Maybe, hopefully, America can influence other countries to change their ways. Let
Well,
people
capitalism
own
is
more.
also
Yeah, there's also problems with capitalism.
Oh, well, I'm saying like
Yeah,
let people own
capitalism
more
is a
businesses, help people produce more in other countries. I mean, let's talk about, let's say, Africa, where they have tribes and stuff, that people that are like starving. I mean, are they still starving? I mean, is it still like the old days
it
back in the
depends
80s
where
and
you go,
90s,
man.
Yeah.
where they're
It
like
depends if you go to the
feed the
Congo,
children and stuff like that?
if you go to the Congo, you'll find wealth. If you go to South Africa, you'll find wealth. But like
But it's
generally,
controlled
Africa's
by
a
like
very impoverished
bad people.
nation
Yeah.
or like
It's-
continent. You know.
You know what? This is another reason why I wish that there were no borders. I wish that, think about it. If it was all one land, one country, we don't call it the USSR or USSR. We don't call it Russia. We don't call it China. We don't call it America. We call it the earth that we live on, and there's no boundaries. Would there still be starvation?
Absolutely. Yes. There are areas on the world that are much
Or would
more
everybody
difficult.
migrate into those areas that are
Right.
better
There are areas in the world that are much more
Like
difficult
that
to live
Sam
in.
Kinison skit. Why are y'all living in those
What is it? What?
I don't think I've seen that.
like that Sam Kinison skit where he's just screaming about people living in the sand.
Say
He's like,
it!
why
Say
don't you
it!
live where the food is?
Right. Exactly.
Oh, I remember him back in the
Screaming
days.
Yeah, one of the main reasons America is so wealthy is just because of our land and how like fantastically fertile it is.
So, if we opened up all the borders, I mean, if we opened up all the borders, I ain't saying just America, but everybody.
It would be a bad idea. Here's
Yeah.
the reason why it'd be a bad
Wow.
idea, Dusty.
Oh,
I
what's
like
that?
where your head's at because the thing is, it would like culture shock. Like
How long would it be a bad idea for? I mean, we got to go through rough
If
times
you-
for a change
if
like that
you-
to happen.
Well, here's the thing: if you just open all the
We would
floodgates,
adjust.
right?
Yeah.
Dusty, people would gravitate to certain places immediately. They would just rush to those places. It would totally destabilize economically and the supply chain, and it would put so much pressure and impact on the supply chain and the food chain. It would be such a dramatic influx that would just cripple all the places that are worth going to.
What
right?
if we?
And it would mess with our monetary system tremendously
well, what
as
if
well.
we?
Imagine you like own a house
Yeah.
and suddenly you have 20 people who want that house. What's your house value? Ridiculous. That's what it is.
Well, look at what's happened in New York. They don't have the room. They don't have the resources for all those extra people. They onboarded way too many people way too quickly.
Well, that's why they're
You could
building
open up-
upwards. Kind of like China
You
is. They
can't
all
because
build up.
it's sinking. New York is sinking.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And
With
it's
amount
amazing. You'll walk
mean,
down the road and see a bunch of like areas that businesses could be, but they're not because the rent's way too high.
Yeah, I know.
And the people are just holding on to that property because like this is going to always go up.
I mean, back in the
All right.
back in the 2000s, the New York prices were like downtown Manhattan was like $2,500 a month for a 3-bedroom. So you got to think nowadays of how much that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and luckily you have roommates because $2,500 a month. The people just pay out the kazoo just to live in New York because of the atmosphere. When they're wasting so much money when they need to go get a house, if they're going to pay that much, honestly.
Can I speak on something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm thinking of things like the New York crisis, right? Like they're in a situation where it's like a critical situation. And those situations, like if we're going to talking about like all these problems, might as well talk about a solution rather than just going around and around and around. And to get people on a page where they feel like they can control something, that's what you need to focus on.
Mhm.
Things like that are so big, like the size of New York's issues, they'll have to kind of resolve themselves out by those means. But people have to focus on things like creating a non-dependency from this thing because you want to open up the borders, right? There has
Well,
to be a slow change in
Yeah, that's
all
what
of
I
the
mean.
areas
Slow
of the
change.
world.
Yeah.
There has to be a slow change and a gradual shifting. And the only way that shift is going to be made is if people start kind of retrograding, not necessarily in the quality of life and that in the commodities they have around them, not necessarily that, but start creating more of a parallel society. It could be microscopic within your communities. It could be within your businesses. It could be within the larger scope things, you know?
Yeah.
And you start creating these parallel societies where you start divvying out how dependent you are, instead of it all being on corporations and the government and the current society that's at large now. You can start shifting that over and start fueling the energy into something else and let that grow and let the other things start to either retrograde, like let the power and the size of the government, because you're not generating taxes, because you're commercing in a different way that doesn't generate taxes. You're using maybe another currency that's used in your own community. You know, you're doing things that are not on the normal playbook that start to give control back to the people, rather than it just being siphoned right into the hands of the corporations and the politicians, which is the problem with capitalism.
That's another story. But
Right.
we're hitting on a subject that we're about to switch over to another
Well,
subject.
there's a few
Oh,
things
go
that
ahead.
I'd like to say
Yes.
on that.
Go ahead. Yes.
Uh,
And we got another 14 minutes, guys.
there's a certain amount of efficiency that comes from large scale operations.
Hmm.
So if you like Amazon, take for instance, they're a large scale operation, and they are able to achieve certain efficiencies that you wouldn't be able to if that was split up between multiple
100%.
operations. But like,
And that's
there's also the problem of if like you get something that is like one thing, so like mono, I don't know what you would call it, but it makes it so that if that one thing fails, everybody is like not having a good time.
I think the problem is that here's the thing. Today's society is kind of disgusting in a way, because the conditions of the situation, right? How all the variables are in place and the place that they are and the conditions, the way things are. I think that we need the way that society is, but we need half of that, and we need another half of us not being dependent upon it too.
Mhm.
It's like you
Exactly,
can't
yeah.
live without evil. You need good and evil, and that's society. That's
That's
like
the yin and the yang,
there's the
the
anarchist.
balance.
Yeah, there's the anarchist side, and then there's this whole what we got right now. And the reason why it's so bad with what we got right now is because we lean too far into this direction. We need to find equilibrium between the two.
Right, and I think
Steady medium.
it's
Yes.
important to find out which tactics, which ideas work best in which situations. If you like, for instance, I feel like the way you decide whether something should be on the open market or government like controlled is whether there is room for competition. For instance, we don't want our roads to be privately owned because there's no room for competition there. You have like one road that goes like mainly towards another place. You don't want everybody else building similar roads to take up all the space with roads, right?
You'd have problems with roads if
That's where we get continuity from, is how we get like large civilizations, and that's where we get the continuity, where we can create a city in a grid-like structure. We can create a unified water system.
And that needs
get that.
That needs a centralized governing body to be able to organize, and that's important. But also in other areas, it's very important that we don't have a large governing central body doing that, so that you don't end up with two brands of bread only, right?
Well, with the roads, guys, if many different people own the roads, then how would our taxes pay for the roads? Right?
Right. So you do need a governing body to take care of those large scale things that you cannot have multiple people trying to do the same thing.
Because you'd have one really nice road, and then we went over to Jameson's land. That road is don't go down that road.
Right.
It goes a long way. It'll take a shortcut, but they never fix their potholes. They never fix or maintain the road, and it's dangerous. Yeah. So,
but you still do get that kind of.
Do our taxes even really pay for the roads,
Yeah,
or
they
is
do.
the government just
They pay for all
itself by?
They pay for all.
by
Go ahead.
printing money without any limitation.
Well, that's another subject, but you're asking one question first. Do our taxes pay for the roads? Yes, they pay for the construction people's uh, payment, their paychecks to be able to work on the roads. They pay for new roads to be built, new tollways to be built, but then tollways, of course, get their own money. So, do they tax tollways? Do they maintain tollways with taxes, or they maintain?
Tollways are a tax.
Oh, tollways are a tax. So
And,
yeah,
and they use that tax, hopefully, they use most of it towards maintaining the road
yes. So
and towards paying off the loan that they used to build the road in the first place.
yes. So the answer to your question
Right.
is yes. The taxes do pay for the roads. On the money printing thing, well, that's another subject. We're running out of time here. We got about 9 more minutes, guys.
Oh, wow, that went quick.
Yeah, it went really quick. We have a lot to say, and Freak Red, you're welcome to come back on the show again so we can continue this conversation. But let's talk about something. You were talking about society and how they would react to this change of opening all the borders in all the different
It would
countries.
be catastrophic.
Catastrophic.
You would have so
So-
many free radicals
so-
going through places, causing so much chaos. So many people who
Yeah.
are not civilized
Yes.
going into civilized places.
Yes.
It would be
so
it would be so far from the norm, and like it would just be anarchy, like in the wrong side of it, the
Yeah.
wrong face of it.
so
Sudden-
we know the first. Go ahead. Sorry. Trying to
Uh,
make a point.
uh,
That's what I was
You're-
getting to.
Okay,
ahead.
let me say one thing and then
Okay.
you can go.
Yep.
Sudden changes create power vacuums, right?
Mhm.
And power vacuums attract nasty people.
Mhm.
And yeah, basically, this is why revolutions so rarely end well, is that they destroy the previous infrastructures and ideals so quickly that it's left open for anybody who has power to take control, and it usually ends up
Bingo.
terribly.
This is the point I was making. So we have our first thing that we need to work on desperately before this happens.
And
What do
what
you
would that
what-
be? Articulated explicitly.
We need to work on society. We need to work on society trusting each other. We need to work on society working as a team, because society obviously makes the infrastructure work. Correct? Other
Well,
countries,
actually,
you open the borders
I-
up, they come in, they destroy stuff. If we can find a way to start right now and rebuilding, like we've always discussed on other shows, rebuilding from the ground up and helping society see a different light on how we're supposed to treat each other and be on this earth. And we're going to go to another subject, Freak Red, after this. I've got another subject. It's about society that is moving in the wrong direction. But go ahead, say what you're going to say, and then I'll tell you the next thing that's happening right now that is ridiculous.
You can't
Go ahead.
you can't fix society. You can't fix society if the constituents of society aren't operating in a way that generates a proper society.
Yeah,
The people
exactly.
themselves have to work on themselves and change their lifestyles at the fundamental level to create a core building block that can
Ex-
then build a positive society from.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We have to rebuild a foundation
And the way that you do
that works
the
with
way
that.
that you do that is first,
But it's going
I
to
would
take
say
time.
first
too.
finding love, not like just romantically, but for all things and all people.
Yeah.
That would be the first thing. Get a good meal to eat.
Well,
Go
yeah.
get a workout and go get some sleep, and then wake up and then start planning on things that you got to do to make yourself not as dependent upon that dollar.
And talk to your neighbors.
Yes, and
Develop
talk. Yeah.
relationships with the people around you.
Yes, and let me tell you what society's doing now. And I'm sorry, guys, but I have to talk about the younger generation. Okay, and let
Do
me
your
tell
thing.
you. Let me tell you what they're doing by creating this one small thing. And I just found out about this just a couple days ago, and it's been bothering me because if that is welcome to go that direction, then there's a lot of things that are going to come with this. So they've recently taken the thumbs up emoji that everybody's discussing on TikTok and on Instagram, and the younger generation, they say it's the millennials, the Z and the what are the other ones?
Gen X.
Gen X. They said they changed the thumbs up emoji to FU. And I was like, "Oh my god, really?" I'm like, I mean, is that the direction we really want to go in? I mean, the younger generation has the right idea. I mean, I support them. They have the right idea that they want to change America
Like-
for the. Well, hang on a second. You have to let
Can
me
I?
finish.
Can I?
You have to let me finish.
I'm just
Sorry.
trying to clarify.
I know you
Okay.
have to let me
All right.
finish. Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry
So,
about that.
Sorry, because we're getting limited on time here. We've got about
Right,
4 more
right, right.
minutes. So, I support the younger generation. I do, but I feel like making that choice. And guys, don't get me wrong. I totally support you guys what you're doing but I think you're taking the wrong direction at it. Like, with this emoji thing, it's changing the thumbs up, which means good job. Honestly, how do I say this nicely? Don't feel so insecure about the thumbs up, and change it into something like FU, because it feels like you're not getting enough out of the thumbs up, so you want to be appreciated more, I guess, by getting more of a heart instead of a thumbs up. So you're changing it on your own to the FU to make it into a bad thing. Well, guess what happens after that thumbs up? Then people will start putting smiley faces. Then they're going to change the smiley face. Then they're going to change the heart. Then they're going to change all the other emojis.
Oh,
They're just going to keep on doing it, right?
that's a
'Cause-
slippery slope argument.
well, what do you think? Do you
Well,
think?
hold on.
Or you?
I got a question
Freak
just to
Red.
clarify. Just to clarify what. So you're saying that they're pressing the like button with the intent of saying "fu."
No, they're saying that every time we give them a thumbs up, we're saying "fu" to them.
They're interpreting it as like not like as like sure, good going, I guess.
Like the platform is changing the like button to
No,
"fu,"
no, no.
or is
No.
that what the user
That's-
is intending the use of it to be?
The user is not intending it to be negative. It's the receiver who
There you go.
apparently is interpreting it as a negative,
Yes.
which is ridiculous. Also, I think that it is mainly
Exactly.
a vocal few who have like
Cause a
access
stir
to
up.
like or attempting to turn this into a thing.
Yeah.
And basically, it's what I'd like to call weaponized. What did I call that?
Victimization.
Weaponized offense.
defense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weaponized defending offense. I think that's what it was.
Which is basically
Passive
where
aggressive.
Yes.
it's an attempt to use like something that you're offended about as a way to gain power. It's like
Yes.
something that's
just
totally
like how the
normal.
left does it every
Yes.
time. That's their
Right.
entire playbook. Play
Right.
the victim card.
Yeah.
Play the victim card. I'm going through the playbook right now. Play the victim card.
All right,
You
guys.
wouldn't
Well,
believe
we
there's
have
about 300 pages of this.
we have 1 minute left, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Red, Freak Red, thank you for coming on our show today.
Thank you
We
so
really
much.
appreciate you coming on. And just remember, guys, I always try to give you good advice at the very end, unless you want to this time.
I don't have anything.
Okay,
prepared.
so let me tell you this, guys. Society has to get better. We have to start working as a team. We have to start getting along with each other. These scams that are going all over Facebook and Instagram and all everywhere else, and these robocalls, don't let those things pull us apart as a society. Because I see our trust factor we're getting more and more separated by those. You can't even have a fundraiser anymore. You can't even have a society that trusts each other anymore. And then also, there is one more thing. Don't spend so much time on social media, guys, because you don't know how much that is doing. It's what is it called? Giving you
Brain rot.
brain rot. It's giving you influence, stimulating the brain. So basically, say you're going after a guy. If you're going after a guy, if you're going after a girl, well, by looking at social media, it's just hiring what your expectations are, and not really giving the reality of what you really need in your life. So please, guys, work hard on loving your neighbor, right?
Absolutely.
Loving and working together as a team with society. don't stop judging people. And also, guys, if there's any kind of racist names like we call each other, I'm talking about not just black, I'm talking about white, Chinese, Russians, any slang names that we call anybody.
Ginger.
We need to stop calling each other names. That is one correction that we need to stop immediately, guys. So we are all good. Thank you, Freak Red, for coming on today with us on our show. And guys, check out Freak Red on YouTube on his show where he talks about Project 5. So I am Dusty Neal, and this is...
I am Deep Think.
And we'll say salute and see you later. And you guys be safe out there. And remember, treat each other with respect.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Later.